We have some breaking news. Obviously, it's on the justice front, so let's go to Pete Williams in Washington. What's going on, Pete?
Chris, well, this is a big development in the investigation and the subsequent fallout of those anthrax mail attacks that followed right after the 9/11 attacks in 2001. You may recall those anonymous mailings that went out and eventually caused serious disruption here in Washington, in addition to injuries and some deaths of some postal workers. One of the people who was caught up in the investigation was a former Army scientist named Stephen Hatfill, who was once described by the Attorney General as a person of interest in the case. His lawyers have long said that he had nothing to do with it. Hatfill himself has made a number of tearful public statements saying that he was wrongly accused, and just within the last few hours, the Department of Justice, the United States government, reached a legal settlement with Stephen Hatfill in which the government will pay him over $5 million for suggesting that he was a person of interest. Now, the settlement says that the government does not admit any fault. This is sort of standard legal settlement language. This should not be construed, the government says, as an admission of liability or fault on the part of the government or any of its employees. But what this means is you can safely say Stephen Hatfill is no longer a person of interest in the anthrax case. The government, the Justice Department, would simply not reach a legal settlement with someone on Friday and then charge them with the crime the next week. So I think you can safely conclude that the United States government has formally washed its hands of Stephen Hatfill as a suspect in the anthrax case or a person of interest. This is the settlement agreement that was just signed today. There is the signature of a government lawyer, and right under it is the signature of Stephen Hatfill agreeing to this settlement. Now, under the terms of the legal agreement, the government is going to pay him just over $2.8 million and then buy an annuity contract for him worth $3 million. So you put the two together, it's roughly $5.8 million as a result of the government one time calling Stephen Hatfill a person of interest. You may recall that federal agents were tailing him, searched his house, searched a residence that he had, carted things away, searched an apartment, followed his car, had bloodhounds go to a restaurant where he had once been. He also complained that he had gotten, after he had difficulty finding a job around here in Washington, that he had gotten a job as a consultant to a university, and that the U.S. government, the Justice Department, called the university and suggested that he would not be a good person to have as a contractor working to train people to work with hazardous materials. So this is a big development in the anthrax investigation. The government reaching a settlement with one-time person of interest Stephen Hatfill in the anthrax investigation, an investigation that still goes on, and as of just today, law enforcement officials tell NBC News that they do not believe any indictments are imminent. So this is not a sign that somebody else is about to be charged, but it is a sign that the government has washed its hands of Stephen Hatfill and will also pay him over $5 million.
All right. Thanks, Pete. Appreciate that.
All righty.